everyone. So you see we've shared the question in the chat and on the screen. So feel free to put your responses in the chat and we'll get started here in just a couple of minutes. All right, it is 11:30, so we're going to give everyone just one more minute just to respond and put your answers in the chat and be open and honest. This is our icebreaker, so let us know how you feel. Sharosa, it looks like you raised your hand. Did you want to share how comfortable you feel about sharing programs?
Doesn't look like Shiroz is connected to audio,
Okay.
so I'm not sure about that. And we're just going to reiterate that responses can be typed in the chat. I also just want, hi, this is Dan Hochstein. I'm here with Launch. I just want to say that you found yourself at one of 3 concurrent sessions. This is Keep Your Programs Relevant, Transforming Communities Through Virtual Social Justice and Service-Related Programs. I will let the presenters introduce themselves, but just a reminder that if you have found yourself in the wrong place, our schedule is up on the Launch website with Zoom links. But yes, please type responses in the chat and we'll be moderating Q&A as much as we have time for. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Dan. So we are going to go ahead and get started. So, okay, take it away, Cearra.
Okay. Okay. Hey, y'all. I'm Cearra Harris.
And I am Sabrina Robinson, and we are 2 library professionals dedicated to social justice and positive civic change.
In the wake of the pandemic and ongoing protests, Sabrina and I became dedicated to integrating our passions and facilitating programs that address social issues for young adults.
The purpose of this presentation is to encourage our colleagues to utilize their voice and platform as library professionals to address current events in their programming. The goal is that by the end, all programmers will be equipped with confidence and know-how to utilize their strengths to tackle hard conversations and current events, including racism, cultural biases, and social injustice.
This presentation will also equip participants with the tools needed to facilitate civically engaging centered programs virtually. As we adjust to our new normal, it is vital that we create programs that speak directly to the issues being faced by our customers. This is especially important while programming in the virtual space. More than ever, our customers of all ages need safe spaces where they can freely express themselves and connect with others that are dedicated to transforming the community.
This work is necessary and relevant because libraries are no longer in a space where we can sit in the shadows and focus on providing our traditional services. It is time for libraries to step up and represent the communities that we serve. If libraries nationally are striving to be safe spaces, we must advocate for our respective communities through equitable access and relevant programs. While Sierra and I have unique approaches when it comes to our programming, because our passions align, we have been able to create meaningful programs and content both separately and together.
Sabrina and I will openly discuss the impact of social justice programming while examining a few virtual social justice and community service related programs for young adults. We will share our best practices and strategies for interested programmers to utilize and answer any questions that you may have. It is our hope that you all leave this session with edible resources that will help you facilitate your own social justice and community service related programs. Our hope is to encourage other library professionals to not shy away from non-traditional programs, but to use your passions and talent to create true change. I'm so excited. So one of the programs that I created was a virtual racial healing circle for teens. The goal of this program was to create a safe space for teens to talk about race, current events, and social issues with other teens. How this program was birthed: in 2018, I received a Great Stories Club grant from the American Library Association. As a grant recipient, I was able to partner with a local group home that serves teens who are pregnant and in DSS custody. I was able to provide weekly book club and enrichment sessions for the group. The teens who participated in the sessions received free books, healthy snacks, and resources. One of the requirements as a grant recipient was to become a racial healing practitioner. The training that I received prepared me to efficiently facilitate programs that are race and equity focused in the community. And the training was centered around empathy building. In the final session of the Great Stories Club, I partnered with the Beloved Community Center out of Greensboro, North Carolina, to facilitate a racial healing circle for the entire center. This is an amazing organization. If you haven't heard of them, I would look them up. They have an extensive history of working diligently to restore the community and the lives of those they serve. To encourage active participation, I promoted the final session as a celebration to thank all the participants for participating in the program. I told them that in the final session, we would have a party, but we would have great food and just have an open discussion. I was extremely nervous because this was the first time that I was going to facilitate a racial healing circle, but I felt supported by my partnering organization and I was excited for the event. Instead of facilitating the final program in one of the site's closed spaces like I had done before, I held the program in the open living space. My goal was to attract other clients from the center that would be passing by, and I also wanted to encourage the participation of the staff members. With the support of the Beloved Community Center, the session was immensely successful. As a group, we efficiently engaged in deep conversations about how racism had affected all of us in similar ways. We learned from each other, we showed each other compassion when tears were shed, and we gave each other the encouragement and the courage to share our stories safely. As a librarian, this program was career-changing for me. I was inspired by the openness of my participants, and I knew that at that point, I wanted all of my programs to be just as impactful. Since that session, I've created more programs just like this. But when our programs transitioned into the virtual space when the pandemic hit, I was faced with a challenge unlike any other. I was deeply affected by the protests and the acts of violence, police violence plaguing our society. Already faced with the challenge of developing programs that would be well received virtually, I lost the motivation to create programs that were seemingly lighthearted. The heaviness of our current events affected me as a programmer, and I knew that to create a successful program, I had to be true to my feelings. From there, I tasked myself with creating a virtual racial healing circle. My goal was similar to the goal that I originally set when I designed an in-person circle. I wanted to create a safe space for young people to openly address the issues that they were facing. Just like before, I found support while developing this program by forming a panel of knowledgeable, community activists, and civic leaders to help me cultivate a healthy and meaningful conversation. To facilitate this program virtually, I implemented many of the same practices that I would follow for an in-person program. I included an icebreaker activity, 2 mindfulness activities, and we could collectively set rules, which I lovingly call touchstones, to ensure that everyone's voice was heard and respected. And I just set the goal of simply having an open conversation. To effectively moderate this discussion, I used 2 poems as our guides. During the session, I read Caged Bird by Dr. Maya Angelou and I Too by Langston Hughes aloud to the group. After reading each poem, the panel and I engaged in an open conversation, breaking each one of them down and finding similarities between the struggles that the poets faced during that time when the poem was written and the struggles that we were currently facing. Program participants were actively encouraged to participate by sharing their thoughts in the comments, but also by unmuting themselves and turning their camera on so we could engage directly with them. The use of poetry during this session allowed for a healthy and lively discussion. The program was successful and the conversations that were birthed from the discussions were impactful. This program again showed me just how easy it is to safely facilitate conversations about race in the virtual space. Going forward, programs like this are going to become vital for the community, for strengthening and relationship building. Developing them can seem overwhelming initially, but they do not have to be. The support is there to successfully bring these programs to life. Find local organizations that will help assist you and step out of your comfort zone to create impactful programs to help better your community.
Thank you, Cearra. All right, so for this portion, I will go over a virtual series entitled Art and Activism, which offered a glimpse into present day artists who have shared their talents and their lives to create social and civic change. This program utilized social media like Facebook Live and YouTube to attract customers of all ages and backgrounds. I will also briefly review another project that I entitled Signs and Symptoms. It's a musical motion galleria of local Charlotte protests. So how was this project birthed? And with a simple question, how can I get involved? This project came about when I was a member of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library's strategy and response team, who had this initiative called Engage 2020. So Engage 2020, look back and move forward, sought to educate, commemorate, and capture stories of the unique year that was 2020, from the census to the election and the centennial of the 19th Amendment, to also encourage the Black Lives Matter, to highlight the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, to the emergence of a global pandemic. 2020 was truly a watershed year. This team was funded by various grants that we received to fund initiatives like programming, women's conference, and promotional items for census and voting participation, just to name a few things. I will be very transparent with you. I did not, nor was I eager to join the team. Though the team started its recruitment back in 2019, I had no idea. I had an idea actually that 2020 was going to be a problem. It was going to exercise my nerves. Just basically because of the election, tensions between the election alone, and I was absolutely right. And but yet I still underestimated what the year would possibly bring. One of the things that I fear when actually becoming a part of this group was tokenism, which in short is inclusion. When inclusion is seen as a way to satisfy a requirement rather than an opportunity to expand your perspective. And I also dealt with what I know now is imposter syndrome. But I did join after being recommended because of some programming I did regarding social justice. And after looking into it further and consulting with trusted colleagues and talking to one of the team leads, I put myself aside and thought it would be more useful for me to utilize my voice rather than complain behind the scenes. A part of me still felt like I wasn't doing enough to speak up for the community that I'm actually a part of, but that would soon change. So when the world shut down, it highlighted so many issues that were already prevalent, especially in the Black and Brown communities. We had to revamp our approach. We knew that we wanted the library to serve as a witness to these times. So we slowly started building an archive of images and outlining programs and content for our website. I began taking pictures of empty spaces and essential workers to correspond with written stories and highlighting people that were putting their lives on the line to fight this invisible enemy. We covered stories of airport employees, grocery workers, and postal workers, and all kinds of different frontline workers. And then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. So earlier, I highlighted to the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement because I found that wording kind of interesting, because it's true as it is about the resurgence. Black Lives Matter did not go anywhere. The sad truth is that it takes more death to remind us of the value of life and how some lives are more valued in our country. So protests erupted around the world. I started capturing images of various movements around Charlotte. When I brought the images to my team, they were all in awe, and I didn't really think that it would go anywhere past, my images. Well, as it turned out, one of the grant qualifications required that we create some sort of digital archives of local movements. I was asked by my team leads to put together some sort of visual presentation accompanied by music that reflected the sounds of the struggle. I accepted that challenge, but would soon realize how ambitious this project would be. Of course, I could not simply put music to some slides, but I wanted this to somehow come alive. And they actually took me up on that. And I actually could not believe it. So subconsciously, I was hoping someone would kind of stop me because I did not feel I was capable of putting something so big together. And the imposter syndrome started to arise again. Nevertheless, I continued to attend the protests, but with the goal to make sure that I was accurately reflecting what was taking place. I became overwhelmed immediately. I was the only Black woman there most times as a media representative, and I had to create a press badge so that I could be identified. I remember getting on a call with my team leads at the time and just staring at them and crying. They did not judge me, and they actually thought it was a relief to see me release some frustration. The support I received is actually what kept me going. So I'll actually come back to this project later. So now I'm getting to the programming part of what I was doing at the same time. So at the same time, I still need to fulfill my obligations as a programmer. As I stated, COVID-19 made so many other issues come to the surface that it could not be pushed to the side. One of the many questions that I got from various of people who knew what I was working on was, how can I get involved? Many justifiably were frightened to go out into protest rather because of police violence or catching COVID-19. Others simply did not know how to express themselves. So I took that question and I asked multiple people to answer it. So for 8 subsequent Thursdays, I asked artists to provide their expertise that utilized various mediums and how they became vulnerable and transparent to hundreds of viewers and opening up about their personal encounters and reflections on social dilemmas. And I asked them to share that with our viewers and our patrons. So how did I get 8 artists to participate? And the answer is very simple, actually. Only 8 of them replied. Well, really, it's about 12, but 8 for the program. But some replied faster than others, but they did up until the very last minute. I sent about 30 invitations overall. So even if you do not plan on having a series that long, it's better to overshoot. If you do not get to utilize everyone, there's nothing wrong with staying in contact and telling them, I would love to partner together for another program, and make good on that promise. So as programmers, we know that it's hard to predict participation, especially in a virtual setting. Within our department, Cearra and I have pushed quality programming over quantity, but these programs were able to garner hundreds of views, leaving thousands of impressions on our library Facebook page. The reason why I felt these programs were a success was because of the transparency from not just the artists, but from the moderators. It was super important for me to get moderators that could identify with the artists, rather they had a shared culture experience, or even if they were both operating in the same medium like acting or painting or photography. Instead of having to pretend like I knew everything about every single topic and medium, I was able to reach out throughout the system. I worked with people throughout the system that were staffed part-time to people in the human resources department. Everyone who participated believed in what they were presenting, and that really translated well. I had so much support, not only from the library staff, but from the artists and their faithful following. But I feel what is most important is the fact that I believed in it. I spoke to Rosalia, who is one of the artists, and remember being on the phone just telling her, thank you for your bravery. Know that you've touched and inspired one person at least, because that one person is me. Alvin C. Jacobs, who's a prominent artist and photographer in Charlotte, he became popular after capturing images at Ferguson protests after the lynching of Mike Brown. I had followed his work since I was actually in college. It was so encouraging to me, especially with the project that I was working on, to hear his journey from his own mouth. So you must believe in the work that you're doing. Ask 100 people and take the 10 that believe in it. I was inspired so much that I kept going with Signs and Symptoms, which I mentioned earlier. I hired actors, some from UNC Charlotte, a local drum line, dancers, in addition to musical artists who produced, wrote, and performed 3 songs for this project simply because it inspired her. Even the police got involved. After a tedious 6-month process, we finally premiered the video at the Engage Her virtual women's event with keynote speaker Congresswoman Adams in partnership with Johnson C. Smith University, a historically Black university here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I even got the chance to participate in the Art and Activism series myself. So I'm going to answer this question. I do have a mashup or a video with the overview of the overall series for you all, if you all want to see a snippet of it. But Cearra is also going to post this question in the chat and take this time to answer it for just a minute while I get that video prepared.
Okay, guys, while Sabrina gets the video prepared, I'm pasting this question in the chat. But we are interested in learning more about, have you ever tried to incorporate your hobbies and interests in your programs to better tackle hard conversation with your participants? So I've been trying to monitor the chat, and for the most part, I see we have like people at 3s with feeling their levels of being comfortable facilitating these types of programs. I'm also interested, while we get the video together, in the chat, you could tell us what makes you hesitant, what are some worries you have, and yes. So that's one of the things we wanted to encourage you to not be worrisome when it comes to facilitating these programs, because you have a network. I feel like it's 35 people in this space right now. So that's at least 35 people who are at least interested. So we can start building that network now. And Sabrina and I, because we have a little bit of experience, so we can help you get rid of some of those worries. So you could take some time to answer that question, and then also prepare questions that you might have at the end. We would love to answer those as well.
Okay, so I'll just give it a few more seconds, and then I'll share the video. Okay, so again, this is a mashup of the 8-part series that I did and that I wanted to share with you all.
Good evening, y'all.
Artists since the beginning of time have been history's greatest recorders.
Join the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library's Engage 2020 campaign
for our Art and Activism series,
as we offer a glimpse into a few artists who have shared their talents and even lives to create social and civic change.
Our first artist to be interviewed today is Renzo Ortega. Renzo provides us a glimpse into his creative approach as he offers viewers a chance to dive into the Latin American experience in America.
Because you see a lot of artwork made by people from other places. If you change their last name to a Latin American last name, they're gonna say, "Oh, this is folkloric." But because their last name is Schultz or Smith or any other last name, it's like, "Oh, it's so contemporary."
I understand. Definitely, Black, Indigenous, and people of color in the United States specifically have been marginalized and put into these boxes, and usually when they do get a chance to kind of show their artwork or show the work that they do, they're often expected to perform under specific guides, like you mentioned.
I am very, very proud to introduce our featured artist, Her name is Rosalia Torres Weiner, and she brings the art experience to underserved immigrant populations in the Charlotte area.
I call myself an artivist because I have combined my art with my activism. I realized that our broken immigration system treated some of the members of the Latino community with hostility and indifference instead of compassion.
Through this discussion, we will learn about Alvin C. Jacobs Jr.'s creative approach as he offers his audience a personal view of countless protests through imagery. We hope through this experience, you feel empowered to use your own voices, talents, and influence to promote social and civic change.
I didn't have a gun. They did, and I was afraid, but there were multiple guns. It wasn't even just the fact that they were armed. It was, you couldn't tell who was who.
You know, you don't have to embrace negativity. You don't have to respond to it. But racism is affecting every aspect of your life, with or without your permission.
San Juan and Sante Benjamin and Harish for real. We are going to talk about a recently released dance film called #BlackRightsMatter.
I'm on the block with the killers and my own, of course. Yeah. I see my mom and dad separate, ain't talking divorce. Said daddy was living by the fire, and he day 8 kids. Ain't on no guy, and we grew up with hitters and did everything they said. Point out the block, we spinning that. Running the spot, we getting that.
With us tonight is Pat. Pat is a mixed media artist and illustrator from Beaufort, South Carolina. Her work celebrates and emphasizes the heavily criticized and appropriated ghetto culture. Her recent works have taken history and switched racial roles to shine a light on the racial injustice that Black people have constantly faced.
She wanna bother you. She at your cookout trying her best to get you barbecued. Y'all just chilling out here grilling, searching for solitude. She trying to get you solitary for your attitude. Whoa, shoot a black man, get vacation time. Whoa, shoot a black woman, no one pays for crime. Whoa, shoot a horror film on your body cam. Whoa, candles and balloons where the bodies lay.
Tonight we present cultural arts consultant and strategist Andrea Chandler, also known as Angie C.
Say her name. Sometimes I hear words that follow it. Say her name, please. Say her name too. We had to create our own hashtag because of how often we're left out of the narrative.
Joining us for a discussion with Sabrina Robinson, Katrina Robinson, Tiffany Too Cool Tiff Davis, as we discuss Signs and Symptoms, the Motion Gallery and Too Cool Tiff's upcoming EP.
As a people, we must understand that we can come out here every single day. But if we don't have an agenda, and if we ain't dropping names, and we're not going to those polls, then everything that we're doing right now is for naught. And I refuse for that to happen.
God bless the streets. Never trust a human that don't practice what they preach. You a beast. Life is a beach. Keep God first and the ops on the leash. All we want is peace. Please give me a piece. But don't pull out your piece. And make me rest in peace. We tired of saying please.
Welcome to the final installment of Charlotte Mecklenburg Library's Engage 2020 Art and Activism series. Tonight, we'll take a glimpse into the events that inspired Cheryl's work and discuss how he's using his voice to create civic and social change in our community.
My journey began with being wrongfully incarcerated in Washington, D.C.
Cover your face, cover your face. Don't let them see you. Don't let them see you. Give me my space. Give me my space. You better be cool. You better be cool. We need grace. We need grace. And some mercy too. I'ma go pray.
That the artist's role in achieving social justice is to reveal new perspectives, to create a connection to cause, and to give voice to those who are not represented.
Okay, so thank you for watching. Give me one moment here. I don't know if we had any other responses in the chat, Cearra.
We did. We had a response from Cynthia, who is interested in on what we've done, and we would love to connect with you, Cynthia. We would love that. We share our emails and our contact information at the end of the slide, so please feel free to reach out to us. And that goes for anybody who's interested in this kind of work.
Okay, absolutely. Just to echo what Cearra said, yes, we'll definitely be sharing our emails at the end of this. And also to see the full series, you can go on to the library's YouTube and Facebook page, Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. And to see an archive of some of the work that the Engage 2020 has done, you can go to the website here as well at cmlibrary.org/Engage 2020. All right, thank you.
Okay, so the program that I am the proudest of right now is the West Boulevard Library Teen Circular. In 2020, I became a Young Researchers Fellow with the University of Illinois iSchool. This fellowship brings together other library professionals from across the nation to develop new and innovative community-focused programs. The fellowship offers a program stipend, training to learn how to better assess program impact, and program development support. When I began developing this program during the initial lockdown phases of the pandemic, I had one immediate goal. I wanted to create a program that could also serve as a volunteer opportunity for the teams that participated while being facilitated completely in the virtual space. In-person library activities ceased at the beginning of the pandemic, and it also calls for all of our teen volunteer opportunities to also come to an end. This is detrimental to our department because we were in the process of revamping our teen volunteer program, and we subsequently lost all of our teen volunteers. Our library is in a community that relies on the library for career readiness services like resume building and application assistance, education support, as well as community connectedness. So it became my top priority to create a program that encompasses all of those elements for teens. After attending the protest in honor of George Floyd with Sabrina, I was inspired to use my program to amplify the voices of our teens in our library's community. All of those factors led to the development of the West Boulevard Library Teen Circular, a newsletter for teens written by teens. The first edition of the West Boulevard Library Teen Circular launched in January. I'm so excited. And it is currently distributed throughout all Charlotte Mecklenburg schools and our neighboring community partners. This program is promoted and facilitated in a similar format of a writers group for teens. Our small team of what we call interns meet weekly to brainstorm, plan future sections, facilitate interviews with prominent members of our community, and participate in enrichment activities. Our teens earn volunteer hours for attending the weekly sessions and for any time they spend working on the circular. This includes spending time drafting articles, conducting research, and each intern is given a reusable timesheet that is to be filled out and returned to me at the end of each month. This simple time tracking process has been effective since we started the program, and one of our interns has been able to use the hours that they earn to be admitted into the Junior Honor Society, which is exciting. In many ways, Sabrina and I have been able to collaborate on this project. Her artwork has been utilized as the cover art, and she created a breakdown of the roles for each intern. We are currently using those roles to develop learning paths to ensure that we are creating a program that is impactful for them as well. This project has also served as a catalyst to strengthen our community bonds in the midst of the pandemic. We've been able to connect with prominent community figures. They've attended our sessions and been interviewed by our interns. We've been able to use their support, advice, and words of encouragement to remain motivated and create a truly fulfilling experience. As a Young Researchers Fellow, I was also awarded a generous stipend to support the program. Initially, I planned on using the funds to to facilitate in-person activities and group sessions, but all that came to an end. So as the program has evolved, we've decided to use a portion of our funds to purchase the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite to further support the creative efforts of our interns. A portion of the funds will be used to purchase 2 years worth of licensing to ensure sustainability when my fellowship ends. All participating interns will receive extensive training on the software. A lot of that training, I want to note, will come from library services like lynda.com and Universal Class. In the coming months, we are on track to expand the circular in our distribution. Our interns are constantly coming up with new section ideas and new ways to collaborate with the community. Program participation has remained consistent, which is a worry I had, but they have been extremely consistent, and they have repeatedly expressed gratitude for our program. This project is newly implemented, and in a lot of ways, it's still in its developmental stages, but it has taught me many valuable lessons as a programmer. The most important being that creating truly impactful programs can exist in any space. We just have to be passionate about the work that we're doing and let that shine through.
Thank you, Sierra. Okay. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay. All right, so some common questions that we get. Is there a way to maintain bipartisanship? My first response to that is, though we've seen that people have extreme differences of opinions on social issues, basic human rights is not a partisan issue. Now, that does not mean that it makes addressing these subjects any easier. There is no easy way to combat hate. You will probably never hear this in any other forum, but those that choose to retain hate have chosen not to be convinced. So we cannot force people to change, but keep the faith, stand strong on the facts and knowledge that you gain, and get a great support system. Lean on your colleagues before, during, and after your program or presentation.
So the next question you might have immediately is, how can I address current events in my programming? So figuring out how to develop programs that address current events can often feel like an impossible burden to overcome. Initially, you may feel overwhelmed or hesitant about addressing sensitive topics in your programs. The biggest fear that I had when I began developing social justice and race-related programs was that I would lose control of the conversation. To avoid this pitfall, I implemented those touchstones that I showed you as before, or they're basically just rules, but touchstones sounds a little softer, that are expected to be followed in each session. The group works together to create those touchstones, and they really just ensure that everyone's voice is heard and respected, even if we have differing opinions. Addressing sensitive topics in programs does not have to be a daunting experience. Just set clear expectations behind the discussion and utilize the touchstones to maintain a safe and respectful experience for everyone involved. And that includes us as well.
So many of my colleagues or people within the system do not agree. The truth is, whether we agree or not is not the problem. It's tolerance. So start small. Change is still change, no matter how small it may seem. If you see a need in your community to address certain issues, more than likely you are not the only one to have noticed. We all have that coworker that we confide in. Challenge each other to take the whispered conversations and evolve them into a welcoming discussion, then into a program. While doing that, assess your results and who's participating. Present it to your superiors and peers and lead them with the evidence that there is a need for these conversations. Change the culture around the conversation and use common interests like music, books, or film. So for example, did you watch Zootopia? It was a good movie that talked about dangers of classism and bias. It is both digestible for audiences of all ages and from all backgrounds. This opens up the room for conversation over a common interest.
So how do I manage the emotional component of these conversations? My first response to this question is to remember your role as a programmer. As programmers, it is our responsibility to create a safe space for our participants to learn and grow from the resources and experiences provided. If emotions arise during your program, I would not shy away from them. I would take a moment to acknowledge them and decide as a group how to move forward. If addressed properly, the emotional component can be used as a catalyst to building empathy amongst the group.
All right, so lastly, so here's some tips and takeaways because I want to get to some of your questions. So start with your why and not your what. Then apply your interest. If you know why you're doing something, it comes off as more authentic. Don't just try to do a program just to satisfy a quota, if you will. I don't know. Sorry. Let me see. Okay. Protect your mental health and start with one thing. If you're anything like me, sometimes I catch myself trying to tackle multiple issues, but you are human. You have to protect yourself. So start with that one thing. There is no tool that is too simple or too hard. No one is truly smarter than anyone. I just believe that we all have more practice at something else. So right now we're using Canva for our presentation, and that's catered to Cearra's expertise. I'm a person that I like to use the Adobe Suite. So we're versed in very two different areas. I call Cearra the Canva queen. So preparation is key. So be, prepared, practice, converse with whomever you need to. We did about maybe 2 or 3 run-throughs with this presentation. So make sure that you just prepare, and that also helps tackle those tough conversations. Be a sponge and not a scrubber. Rather than being a teacher, approach your programs as if you're learning with your attendees. And collaboration is everything. Do not be afraid to ask for help. You're muted. Sorry. I didn't mean to yell. I'm sorry.
I went the whole time without doing that. Okay, but we just want to thank you all for allowing us to have the space to share our journeys with you all. It is our hope that you've taken something away that can be applied to your programs as you tackle tough conversations and promote change. I also just want to reiterate that me and Sabrina are here to help you. We love collaborating, and we love building a network of dedicated library professionals who are really pushing change in the community. That is what we're about in our personal, and that's what we're about with our library programs. So if there's any way that we could support you, even if it's just you need a little pep talk to get excited about what you're doing because you're a little nervous, we're here for that. Just before this, we had our music, and we called some people in my family to give us that little pep talk to get started, and that's what you really need to get this going. But I did see a question that I did want to answer.
Do we have time?
Yes, please go ahead. We're just going to go a little over.
Okay. So Ramona asked, as a white person who has never experienced racism, how do we lead a discussion on that topic without coming across as inauthentic, as well as not having the firsthand knowledge? And I think that's a really great question. Thank you for being transparent and putting that in our chat. So I'm gonna let Sabrina answer. I'm gonna go ahead and give my take on it. I would say it really speaks to that point that Sabrina made, to be a sponge and not a scrubber. So you're walking into that space with little to no knowledge. Own that and take that. Create an organization or a support system to help you develop that program the right way, and so that you have people who have that firsthand experience or who are already doing race-related or social justice work, and allow them the safe space to really facilitate a program that will be beneficial to your attendees or the people that you desire to come and participate.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Ramona. I say this too. I really want to reiterate, don't be afraid to partner, okay? One of the reasons why I feel like we've been able to be so successful in pushing out our programs is because we've been able to collaborate, and specifically within this environment, even if the person that I want to work with is not even at this branch, I've been able to send an email or call them like, hey, I heard that, you were interested in this, or you've done work on that. I would like to collaborate on this particular program and project that I don't really have knowledge about. Start with just those small conversations, and don't be afraid to ask for help. All of these, they look really good on the presentation, but it really would not have happened if it weren't for the partnerships, the people the shoulders that I've cried on, from my managers, from my co-workers to my team leads. I see some of them actually in here now that I've started sharing. But don't be afraid to ask for that help. Ask for that person that is doing that footwork and putting the boots to the ground. I hope that helps.
Thanks. I think that's all. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I think that's all that we have time for right now. I'm sorry, ladies. Thank you so much for your presentation. The next set of of presentation starts at 12:15. And I think both Sabrina and Cearra have given you contact information. Feel free to reach out to them. Thank you, ladies, so much.
No problem. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for everyone participating. Bye.
Thank you all for coming. Bye.
Bye.